Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Train Man. We're back here in TRS. The game had a little bit of an issue when it started up, so I'm not sure how much time we'll have. Maybe 20 minutes, maybe less. I'm going to take my watch off my wrist right now, that you're listening to, and place it down in front of me. And today will be a day of kind of tidying up. Not really tidying up. Today's going to be a day of this area right here. Now, this episode, because of what's going on today is an unusual day. This episode will be shorter than most, and it will be up later than most. A lot of today is going to preparing for the Big E, which is tomorrow. The Big E, well, by the time you see this, it's later today. But the Big E, for those of you that don't know, is just about the largest model railroad show on the East Coast. And it's a show, it's not just a club. So that means all sorts of presenters. One of these presenters is the Providence Northern Model Railroad Club, of which I am a member. So that is why I am going. I would definitely like to go anyways, had I not been part of said club. That's an issue, it's a little weird embankment problem right there. Had I not been part of said club, I would have still liked to go, but probably would not have been given the opportunity, considering it's an hour and a half away. And I'm not sure how much it is to get in these days. However, I was essentially told to come along, to fill in at the booth. So with that, I'm bringing Lee, which is my mogul. Gave him the name Lee the other day, just on a whim. His other name is the little engine that can't, because on our model railroad there are several grades, 1.5% and 2%, and the like. So we have some pretty serious grades, and this engine doesn't have traction tires, it doesn't have bullfrog snot, and it doesn't have a lot of weight either. So it's just kind of very slippery, I guess would be one way to put it. Now, I should have adjusted this mountain ridge here in order to give it a little more variation, but I'm going to work behind it and put stuff. So essentially, now it's more of a backdrop. Also, no trains are going to be going along this track to begin with. Unless I decide to take it somewhere, which I probably won't, unless I just, spur of the moment decide to make another industry out here, like I did with the one that's on the other side here. And you can never save too often. Do not save session. We don't even have a session. Sync. I've noticed that the audio does come out of sync, and it is a bit annoying. And I'll be honest. It's a pain to put it back together. But, it's worth it. Not only is this one of my most popular series, it's also one of the few that I probably would not put nearly as many hours into this game if it were just me playing on my own as I do, recording. Now, of course, right now I'm not putting very many hours into it, period, because all of the time that I would normally allocate for this, or most of the time, I mean, you guys are still getting a video, but most of the time is being instead given to the actual writing aspect. Now, it is taking a while, and the story itself is going to be very long. I'm at 13 pages, which was basically 75% of the old Zombie Train story, and I still have barely scratched the surface of the plot. I can be a bit superfluous in my writing, especially when I'm trying to be a little bit patronizing to people who haven't stuck around the whole time or may have forgotten. I don't want you to have to go back and watch the old video in order to prepare yourself for this one, because not only have I had to retcon a lot of the stuff in the old story, because I wanted it to meet up with Max Brooks's World War Z, but the old story is just not that great. I'll be honest. Alright, so that's done. Let's save again. Yep. Sync. This game has a lot better response time than Total War does. Alright, so what I want to do here... I mean, I may be jumping to the kind of scenery aspect a little quickly, and sure, you guys could criticize me for that all day. However, I still find it a very important part. So, and it has to get done to some point, and either way, it's getting done. No matter what I'm working on, I'm still working on something. There's no wasted effort, no matter how insignificant the project seems. You know what? I'm going to do this a different way. Let's cover this up for a second. Like all that time I spent up here. This was never in the plan, and you guys know that. But this is probably one of my favorite areas in the map. Because it's just a simple little switchback, a very, very small confined railroad that has ties to other places but doesn't use them. It's just kind of on its own. It wasn't on the map because it wasn't significant. It wasn't important, but last minute, when you get to it, I should say, just to make it seem a little bit more like it was there nonetheless. That was the wrong button. When you get over here, the fact of the matter is, it's still there. And it's not going to disappear just because it wasn't on the map. There are plenty of things out there that are not on maps and exist. And I'm not even talking about just the simple things like, I don't know, a house. That leads me to a thought. A serious, serious pipe dream. And by serious, I don't mean this is definitely going to happen. I mean it's definitely a pipe dream. It's definitely something that's probably never going to happen. It just happens, I happen to catch wind of the thought of this, and it just really struck my fancy, and it was really just kind of a random thing that came into my head. Now, I'm sure you're all going, well, what is it? Can you tell us instead of sitting here rambling all day? Well, no, I'm going to sit here and ramble anyways, but I can tell you. What I'm telling you is this. No. Kind of ridiculous statement there. What my pipe dream, not my pipe dream, but what this pipe dream is just a little forum post I found entitled Durango to Chama. Now, those of you that aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, here's a little rundown on the situation. And I'm doing this as I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to put here. I know that this land, I need to plateau this area right here. And then I can connect. Yeah. For those of you who don't get what I'm talking about, the Durango and Silverton Railway, a narrow gauge heritage railway in Colorado, was part of the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railway, which was a very large net of standard gauge and narrow gauge rails all throughout essentially the Midwest, southern, basically the West. When you see, it was a lot of the narrow gauge stuff. I'm not 100% on the history of it, even though I probably should be because I love it so much. But fact of the matter is this. They had a large network of standard gauge and narrow gauge in Colorado, New Mexico, and yeah, generally that area. I'll say the Four Corners area to be safe, but again, I could be wrong, so don't take my absolute word for it. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. We're about to hit 10 minutes of recordable video. So, Durango and Silverton is a branch line of the Denver and Rio Grande Western's main line, which was called the San Juan Extension, if I recall. I need to investigate how they do this in the maps. Alright, let me trace this river's path. Let me save and then trace the river's path. And I'll get back to my thought. Sink. Sink. Okay. So, the San Juan Extension was a main line, and part of it ran through the Cumbres and Toltec. It ran over Cumbres Pass. Now, this area, which is one of the most scenic areas in the route, is also a heritage railway. It's called the Cumbres and Toltec. Now, the thing, I'm going to keep this bend in, even though it was an accident. The thing with the Cumbres and Toltec, they don't have a lot of money. Apparently. I have no idea, in fact. But from what I've heard, apparently they're not in great financial standing yet. Somehow they have 4 engines running. And, yeah, I don't know. There's something about that place that seems incredibly backwards in my head. And that is no doubt what spurred the American Heritage Society, or something like that. They run the Durango and Silverton, which is a spur of the San Juan Extension. And they also run the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad. Now, this whole thing, see, at one point they bought the Cumbres and Toltec and then sold them the following month. Because they did not... Was it the following month or the following year? They dropped them pretty quickly, is what I'm getting at here. Because apparently the financial situation was too backwards and no good. But now, back to the pipe dream. Durango, which was the founding point of the Durango and Silverton branch, well, it would just be called the Silverton branch then, but the starting point of the Silverton branch was part of the San Juan Extension. It ran through several other towns and eventually ascended Cumbres Pass. The thing with that is, well, of course, that section was shut down and discontinued and no longer functional, and the tracks have been ripped up in most of the places. Essentially, it's been gone for years, decades. Ever since the Cumbres and Toltec was converted to a heritage railway, ever since they kind of got rid of that line. So, the pipe dream is to reconnect Antonio, Chama. I'm thinking of the wrong end here. Chama, which is on the Cumbres and Toltec, it's one of the ends, to Durango, which is the end of the Durango and Silverton. Now, the thing of it is, and of course I'm going to be a little biased towards this topic, and I'm going to be sort of pro track repair, I guess, because I really wish this would happen, even though it's damn near impossible, considering there's a Walmart in the way. Somewhat. There are ways around the Walmart. I hate Walmart. But the field, there are, farms and fields in the way. There are Indian lands in the way, which, according to a couple of posts on this forum, the Indians nowadays are not so... Well, I should say the Native Americans. The Native Americans nowadays are not so opposed to this. They just don't... There was at least a coalition that was actually trying to help a couple of people that wanted to rebuild the San Juan Extension. But that kind of went nowhere, because they ran out of money and the website was eventually shut down. But if you could get past, the right-of-way is mainly there. Up until just about the outskirts of Durango, it is feasible to relay track. Most of the bridges are intact. A good portion of the actual roadbed is still there. Not the roadbed necessarily, but all the embankments that went with it. They're still there. The, as I said, the bridges are there. There aren't any tunnels. Most of the bridges are still there. There are a couple of them, especially where the Walmart is. You'd have to go around the Walmart, and that presents its own challenge because there's a river there. But yeah. I keep losing track because I'm trying to do this and that at the same time. Let's save again. Sync. Sync. Coming up on 15 minutes. About 45 since I started the game. Okay, so again, the thing with the reason why I brought up the American Railway Heritage people that picked up the Coombrains and Toltec and then got rid of it immediately, the reason I brought them up is because if they had controlled both the Durango and Silverton and the Coombrains and Toltec, this would have been a lot more feasible. By a lot more, I mean a little bit more, because at least the two parties would be in agreement because they'd be the same party. You see what I'm getting at? Right now, the Durango and Silverton... Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Coombrains and Toltec and the American Heritage people don't seem to be in very good standing considering what just happened. And I'm not saying that like they hate each other. I guess I'm kind of insinuating the fact that either they don't want to work together or they just won't work together. Or they don't feel like the American Heritage Society doesn't feel like the other, the Coombrains and Toltec is doing a good job. Which is understandable. But I'm just thinking for the greater good here. And I know the greater good is also kind of a relative term. Okay, it's really a relative term because good is relative. But still. I'm going to come back to that phrase. I feel like I'm going to come back to that phrase a lot. But still, it would be cool. And nobody out there who's a rail fan can deny that. I mean, think about it. The journey from Antonio to Chama, which is the Coombrains and Toltec, for those of you that have taken it, it's really, really great. For those of you that haven't, you should look into it. It's really, really great. Let me save again. Yeah. You guys, I hope you guys get what I'm saying, because, frankly... Okay, no, what was I saying? I was saying about the two journeys. Now, there's a third journey, and it's a band, and it's also really, really great. But that's beside the point right now. The point I'm trying to make right now is both the Coombrains and Toltec and the Durango and Silverton are something in the order of, I don't know, it's several hours, the trip length. How come I can't lower that? Oh, is that one already lowered? I just can't see it. Yep. What the hell? This game. But the stretch between them is really long. Like, really long. Now, that, you know, that points to the obvious logistical problem of, if it's so long, how would you ever repair it. And someone called out the fact that if you had more installations like this, or more really good installations, then people wouldn't spend money elsewhere on their railroading kicks, and they'd come to these instead, which would spread the money, which would give you the ability to do that. But that was kind of its own pipe dream. That was a kind of a bad economical thought. Or, not a bad economical thought, but a bad kind of assumption about the economics of running a heritage railway, I guess. Maybe it's those guys that run the Caprice and Toltec. I'm sorry, I'm being mean now. Oops, that's not good. I seem to have missed one. That was too low, wasn't it? Nope, that's just about right, actually. Okay. So as I was saying with the whole thing, it'd be great. If I was a millionaire, I'd do it. But, of course, there are the common issues, which are farmers want their land, Native Americans want their land, and Walmart wants their land as well. And I'd figure Walmart is probably the hardest of those three to convince, because they can't do anything with more money. You can't bribe Walmart. They already have enough money. Alright, there, I made the two banks of the river. Good job, me. Now I can rip up the tracks on this side. But someone will want me to rebuild them. Just kidding. But yeah, San Juan Extension. Where was I? If you can get past all that stuff, then someone made a list of the issues. I can try and find and link to this forum thread when this video finally goes up, which will probably be 1 o'clock Saturday morning, my time. Because that might be when I'm getting home. It depends on how things go. But, oh, right, I never know when this video is going to end, so right now I'm going to say it again. I'm going to do this to reiterate and announce it because it's important. If you are going to the Big E, go find the Providence Northern Model Railroad Club and come say hi. Now, I'll be the one. Hold on. I'm gonna be there from 11 o'clock onward. I'm not sure when onward. I'm not sure onward until what, but it's gonna be 11 o'clock onward. I'm gonna be the one with the railroad hat with the pins all over it. Like, way too many pins. And if you see anyone like that in the whole convention... Oh wait, why am I telling you guys what the hell to look for? There's a video that goes up every Sunday that has my face in it. And I'm talking to a camera. And you guys can see it. In short, you guys know what I look like, but look for the pin hat if you forget. Providence Northern Model Railroad Club. We're great. It's America. Back to what I was saying about the San Juan Extension, because it's still my favorite pipe dream. Except for taking a Zeppelin flight somewhere. Okay. So, go on, myself. Come on, hurry up. Conjure up some information. Don't keep them waiting. But yeah, if I was a millionaire, I'd be on it already. And by on it, I don't mean on the railroad. I mean just arguing with people about their land and trying to buy it from them. So, let me continue. If someone can solve the problem with the landowners, including Walmart, or just go around Walmart. Or even go in front of Walmart. Hell, it looks like there's enough space in front of Walmart to put a track between the parking lot and the road. Because I was looking at it last night, and I was like, hey, wait, why is Walmart a problem? Of course, things could have changed since the map I looked at, but it seemed to be pretty recent. If you can beat that, then the only issue then would be getting the Durango and Silverton and the Cumbres and Toltec to cooperate with each other, put funds into this, and run trains. I don't know how you can normally tell how well a system is doing financially, a heritage railway is doing financially, by how many steam locomotives they have operational. Which is why I look at Cumbres and Toltec and say, hey, wait, they seem to be doing pretty well, because they have 4. Now, I have not looked into how, another example is White Pass and Yukon, they have 2, that's not bad. They have 2, and they already restored another one and basically gave it away, sold it, or they traded it, I think. Point being, they've got it under wraps, but that's neither here nor there, that's Alaska. Also, where I'd like to go and see the rotary snowplow. Man, am I getting sidetracked, no pun intended. Let me save before I screw this up. Sync. We're going to be hitting 30 minutes pretty soon. So let me just finish off my thought. I don't know the state of the Durango and Silverton's locomotive collection. But if people found out that this was feasible, if the word got out, if a Kickstarter was started that, hey, give us X dollars, I mean, it would probably be in the millions. So it would be tough to kickstart that. But I've seen some crazy stuff kickstarted. If this got out, got on the web, got on Kickstarter, got on a major fundraising program, given that what were they? I think 5 major problems were solved. They were a number of, I think, highway issues, because there have been some roads built where the tracks used to be, and a number of land claim issues with the roadbed being basically buried underneath farms. Farms that are a specific shape so that the machinery can use it. If these 5 issues could be solved, like if you made a deal with these people ahead of time saying, if we gave you this warning and this money or these benefits, say another piece of land and free movement of equipment, blah blah blah, would you move? And if they said yes, in all of the following cases, including the Native Americans, if you said, would it be okay if we put this through here, maybe we'd have like a tourist stop or a stop for you guys, or whatever they'd want in exchange. I'm not going to be racist and say beads. But there could have been a lot of jokes made there, and I had to say that just because it was on my mind, but I don't mean it as a joke. Now, if you had all those problems solved and word got out that, or you put word out really, that, hey, this is going down, seriously, we're going to rebuild the San Juan extension, people, I'm sure, would be right there ready to back it. I know I would be. If I lived over there, I'd go and help. Frankly, I'd spike some rails for them. But that's that. That's my idea, my glorious pipe dream in my head. And we're getting closer and closer to closing time over here, so one more save. Sync. Thought I lost it for a minute there. By the way, some of these things may have been out of sync because of... First of all, the fact that I'm not giving any auditory cues as to what I'm doing. I'm just kind of working solemnly and talking. Which is why I feel like these videos are best viewed, or not really viewed. They're best essentially listened to, because the stuff is kind of boring. We've already gotten over the big decisions. I know where my mountains are going to be, my valleys are going to be, so it's no longer a ask you guys what I'm going to do. It's sit back and work, and work, and work, and work, and you guys eventually will see the fruits of my labor. Now, something I was trying to come around to and kept losing is the length of the journey between Silverton and Antonio. For lack of accurate measurements, it's long. It's quite long. And there were several split-offs there, anyways. Several split-offs in different areas, and not switchbacks, but kind of areas where the track looped back on itself. There were a couple of really nice areas, I'll give it that. And of course, I find basically the whole of Colorado to look really nice. And New Mexico, I guess. New Mexico's kind of flatter. Not making fun of you, New Mexico, just stating a fact. I've got to put something here now, because I left this here. I've got to put something here. Okay, so let me just try to finish out my train of thought for the 20th time today. I've seen, now I highly doubt, I believe they're only for photo ops, because I highly doubt there are any industries that are serviceable by the 60-some-odd mile railway that is the Cumbres and Toltec. However, if the San Juan extension was rebuilt, and now I'm just doing this from a logistical point of view, like return on investment kind of thing, aside from the obvious increase in passenger revenue that would come from such an endeavor. If the San Juan extension was completed with all of its, maybe not with all of its, because it had a lot of kind of spurs and Ys and junctions, etc., as a railroad of the era would. It was just kind of like a big blankety net, rather than a line. But if that were to be completed, you would reopen rail service between Silverton, Durango, several towns in between, most of which I don't remember. I scrolled through them last night, but I wasn't really remembering much because it was 11 o'clock. Several towns, and then Chama, and finally Antonio. I have no doubt that there is anyone within that radius, including all of the farmers that you may or may not displace. I mean, there are plenty that have to be displaced, but there are plenty that are just kind of there by the side of the tracks. Now, those farmers could make use of the train. And of course, sometimes it's cheaper just to do it by truck, especially if you're running rather small farms. However, while I don't think there is a major rail juncture in any town, it would be, it would be a novelty. And you're not connected to any main line that runs to much of anywhere, but if the San Juan extension gets done, and minor industries in the area kind of jump on board, no, I'm not. It would be, if this is a pipe dream, that's the far off prayer to say that it would be a domino effect into rebuilding, but yeah, and that's quite far-fetched, I'll be honest. In fact, it's really, really far-fetched. It's not impossible. It's just improbable. But at the very least, if that were reopened, and I say if that were reopened like it's nothing, we've gone over the issues, and I'll post you to the thread, which was closed back in 2003, but that was the most recent thing I've heard of it. This may just be, who knows, guys, I might start a revolution here. I better save now right before it crashes. But if that happens, the minor industries jump on board, and what do you have? You have a, 150-year-old steam railway running revenue service. And beyond a heritage railway, that is a sight to behold. That is a fantastical, unique experience that is not shared nearly anywhere else in this country. As far as I know. I know Strasbourg has a little bit of revenue service, but now those, it's just kind of switching course in an industry, I think. And the engine is getting a little bit outgunned, I guess, by the cars it's trying to push around. And trust me, I know that feel. And Lee definitely knows that feel. Running on a model railroad that's designed to be in 1989. But if, again, and that provides a whole nother opportunity of restoring old rolling stock that aren't passenger cars that have just kind of been laying by the wayside. All of the depots. I mean, you've got to think, some heritage railways have kind of sat there and smoldered. Some have had, jolts to life, and have become quite famous and quite good, like the White Pass had its jolt to life in World War II when they wanted to build a highway. And it had another one when they started opening the cruise trade, basically. They have a port that the railway goes to. But that's more than a heritage railway now. I feel like it's definitely more than a heritage railway now. With what it does, and it mainly runs its diesels anyways. But that's beside the point. They are also antiquated diesels. I just don't love diesels. Diesels are cool, but I can't tell them apart for the most part, so I just kind of ignore them. If I see not a steam engine, I go, hey, that's not a steam engine. Aww. Which is why I'm not really thinking about going to Steamtown until they have 3713 done. Which I'm not sure when that's going to be, but I feel like it's definitely coming to a head, or it will be soon. Because they're working on wheels, as far as I remember. And wheels are generally some of the last things you do, when you're ready to put everything else on top of them. Wow, this is going to be quite a long episode. This is lovely. The fact that it hasn't crashed yet. And we got this whole river scene done. Well, we got most of the terraining. We've got all the terraining on the east side of the river done. Yeah, quite good, guys, quite good. This area is just as important as the rest of the route, except for maybe back here, which isn't important at all. But we've got all this work back there to do, all up there. Check it out, guys. We're working right here. And then we have this to work on. It's going to be a long time, guys. Maybe by then we'll be done with Tamaros. Or Tamaros? Zombie Tray. I don't know. Couple of very minor thoughts on that. I've been thinking about using it. I've been thinking about doing episodically, but there isn't enough stuff to do it episodically. I mean, I could do it chapter-based, but there isn't enough stuff in a chapter to do it. You'd end up getting very short videos with not a lot in them. And considering one chapter is very definitely supposed to lead to the next. I didn't outline chapters in my plot summary. I only outlined, when I do them, books. And I think I'm done rambling today. I have to split in real life. I gotta go. This video is going to be set to processed, and when I get home very late tonight, you guys will be seeing it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video of the Sosquiga extension and talk about the San Juan extension. Please bring it up in the comments. Always consider it, talk about it, think about it, and not my initial goal for coming on here and talking about it, but who knows, maybe we could spark something. A boiler, perhaps. Train men out.